Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, 23rd of September, 2021. It's another wonderful day for us to be alive and for us to have a chance to develop ourselves and make more merit. Okay, and today we are going to have a sutta study. This is a routine here at the Pape Meditation Retreat Center with the international monks and monks brothers. So before we start, we will pay respect to the triple gems together. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมามิอันธรรมยังพุทธัสสะภะคะวะโตบุพพาคณมการังกโรมะเสนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะAgain, good morning, everyone, and welcome everyone to the Sutta study. Okay, the channel that provides the lecture on the Buddhist scripture. Everything that the Buddha teaches is kept in something called the Buddhist text. The Buddhist text means the Pali canon. And back then, the teaching of the Buddha transmit verbally from one teacher to student and student to another student. It has been going on like this for almost 500 years. It was the first time that the teaching of the Buddha were put together in the writing format in the Pali language. And later on, it get translated to many languages. And it kept in the sacred text and locked somewhere in the temple. And not many Buddhists, actually grab it, read it, and study it. And as a Buddhist monk, I think it's our main duty to get back to the original teaching of the Buddha by actually open up the text, the scripture, and read it by ourselves. Even though we may not understand the meaning behind of each sentence that we read, but at least it gives us the feeling that we are getting closer to the teaching of the Buddha by going through the text. And that's how I feel every time I touch the text, every time I open the text, I feel like I am getting closer to the teaching of the Buddha. And it gives me a sense of privilege to be able to access to those wisdom. Remember, the Buddha was a man, an ignoble man, right? And he went on searching and he discovered something we call the Dhamma. And that Dhamma helped not only to liberate himself from his own defilement, his own ignorance, until he become an enlightenment person or awakened person. And with his loving kindness and compassion, unconditional love, so he started sharing what he found to people in Indian time. And that teaching still lasts nowadays. So Dhamma is timeless. It's ehipassiko. You have to come and see. You have to come and prove by yourself and have the direct experience of what the Buddha teach. And that's why Luang Pi feel like it's, as a Buddhist monk, I feel like it's my responsibility not only to study it, but also to share with others from my best ability, from my best understanding. So that's why we come up with this idea. Not only I'm share with my brother monks about the sutra, the teaching of the Buddha from the text, but we open up this opportunity for everyone who are interested to learn the sutra together to join this Zoom meeting. This is a sutra that we talked about last week. It's the name of the sutra is called Ariyapariyesana Sutta, which is from the middle length discourse of the Buddha, the sutra number 26. So in middle length discourse, there I believe about 152 sutra. We start off with this particular one for some reason. Ariya means noble. Pariyesana means search, the noble search. Very simple. This sutra, the Buddha shared his own story about his own search, the life in the palace, why he ordained, until he make decision to leave everything behind and look for the truth, look for something noble He didn't know what it was, but he can no longer enjoy the life in the palace. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and search. And that search is called Ariya. Ariya means noble search. He located 2 teachers and he learned from them all. And he feel like all of his questions still not fully answered. So he went on searching until he got himself enlightenment, because self-enlightenment. And with that, this is the second part that we will talk about today. So last week, we talked about the first one, about what it means by noble search, what it means by ignoble search. And then the story goes on. After he realized, he attained enlightenment, he gave the first teaching ever to the first 5 students, which we will talk about it next week. So just recap from last week, we talked about noble search and the ignoble search. What it means by ignoble search. This is what the Buddha summarized. When these are seen as acquisition, what is this? Okay, when these are seen as acquisition, one become attached, one become infatuated with this acquisition, seeking happiness. If one seek for happiness with what is subject to birth, is an ignoble search. What is subject to aging, what is subject to sickness, what is subject to death, sorrow, defilement, is considered ignoble search. And then the Buddha explained, oh, okay, what is subject to birth? He mentioned like, okay, spouse, children, subject to birth, understand that. Men and women, slave, your employee, basically human, animal, object, okay? Animal of all types, subject to birth, okay? Human, animal, object. And gold and silver, material wealth, mentioned here. This is inanimated, it's non-living being. It mentioned here. If you just read it, you may not realize why the Buddha put it here. So the way we study Buddhist text, I always said you should cultivate something called a detective mind. Don't believe everything you read. That's not what the Buddha wants. Remember, the text, has been, the text exists 500 years after the Buddha passed away. So there is a possibility that something may get lost, something may add on. So when you read, you not just believe, oh, even though you're born Buddhist, you have faith, you shouldn't believe everything that you read. Don't rush to believe. And then have some, critical thinking when you read, to look for the meaning behind that. Okay, why the Buddha put gold and silver here, material wealth? Okay, because this thing, what is this thing has to do with birth, aging, death, sickness, and sorrow. Of course, defilement may come with it, right? When we have something, we want to have more. Here, the idea is that we are being called, all of us sitting here, including myself, we are a samsaric being. We have been born, reborn, die, and reborn for a countless lifetime. Then this cycle of existence will keep continuing forever in this samsaric. And this thing is called samsaric object. All of this, the object that keep us trapped in the realm of existence. We will never feel enough of having more. Okay, more what? More of something we feel pleasurable, human, animal, object, car, money, house, wealth. And Buddha reflect on his own life. He was born prince, so powerful. He had everything that a man wanted to have. And he was not satisfied with that kind of lifestyle. Something keep bothering him until he realized that, you know what, I was searching happiness in the wrong way. And that's he called ignoble search. It will never satisfy myself. And here the Buddha point something called noble search, something opposite. This is getting more interesting. And keep in mind that this teaching, the Buddha teach the monk, teach someone who understand the nature of life, and those people got themselves ordained and following the Buddha teaching. So the Buddha get to the point. If you are a lay person and you come up and read this sutra for the first time, don't get the Buddha wrong that, oh, the Buddha, suggests me to abandon everything, give up my family life, my business life, and become a Buddhist monk and free myself from suffering. No, that's not what he meant. So here the Buddha go to the point. He said there is something called noble search, something that opposite from ignoble search. And what is noble search? Noble search is what? I'm going to keep it short because I did explain detail last time. The Buddha point to something birth, right? Birth is suffering. So noble search means you search for something opposite. What opposite to birth? He used the word unborn. What opposite to aging, he used the word unaging. Whatever opposite to sickness, he used the word unillness or unfailing. And everything that he said, he point to one specific keyword, which is Nibbana. Being himself subject to death, having understood the danger in what is subject to death, he seeks for something deathless. Being himself subject to sorrow, understood the danger in what is subject to sorrow, he seeks the sorrowless. And again, being himself subject to defilement, having understood the danger in what is subject to defilement, he seeks the undefined. And everything that he just mentioned point to one thing. This is Nibbana. This is the noble search in the eyes of the Buddha, in the eyes of all enlightenment person in the past. It points to one word, which is Nibbana. But there is no explanation. What is Nibbana? Nibbana is the word, that common word used in Indian time, in the Buddha time. It's just very common word. People know what Nibbana means. Nibbana means cool, means something good. If you are a parent and your son is a good son, people usually come to you and say, you know what, your mom and dad already Nibbana, because they don't have to worry about you. You are a good person, and that's called Nibbana. When the rice just finished cooking, it's so hot, and you have the rice sit there for 1 hour, the rice cool down from hot to become a whole rice, and that rice is Nibbana. That's very simple words. The Buddha used the same word, but he has a very deep meaning, okay, of what it means by Nibbana. So here in another sutra, the Buddha mentioned that Bhikkhu, whatever is not yours, please abandon it. When you have abandoned it, that will lead to your welfare and happiness for a very long time. Again, simple, short, but deep. What is it that not yours? Okay, Buddhism is all about wisdom. It's all about fully understand the true nature of life, the true nature of things. What it means by this is not yours. As you study the sutra long enough, you will be able to connect the dots, understand the whole picture, understand the core teaching of the Buddha. But once we can understand the core teaching, whatever Dhamma that you read along the way, it will point back to the same thing, which is liberation, which is not clinging. And now the reason we are suffering because we cling on what is not us, what is not yours. We cling on wife, children, car, possession, money, business so much, which is not us. How come it's not us? I own it. Of course, you own it. This is myself. Of course, this is myself. But in fact, if it's yours, can you tell yourself not to get old, not to get sick, not to die? Can you tell your wife, your kid, your business to be the same, to remain young, remain beauty, remain happy, unchangeable? We just have no control over anything virtually. And that is, the Buddha said, it's not yours. When you cling on something, it's not yours. It will lead your life to more and more suffering. After the Buddha explained the monk about ignoble search and noble search, now the sutra moves on to the second part. Actually, the third part. The second part, he explained about when he met two teachers. Okay, you can go back and read by yourself. So this sutra, we're talking about 40 pages long. Long Pi will capture something that I feel important, and I think that the new monk should get to the point right away. So I capture that and share with you. And here, let's read it line by line. Okay, this is exactly what appears. Okay, from this Majjhima Nikaya. I consider mean he think, he reflect on, he discover this Dhamma. He used the word Dhamma, the truth that I have attained is profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful and sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning, certain to be experienced by the wise. We cannot take every single vocabulary or sentence lightly. We have to think. The Dhamma that he attained, he attained something, he called Dhamma. He realized something, okay? And that thing could be Nibbana, okay? There are many places mentioned about the word Nibbana in this particular sutra. This is something he attained. He never had this experience before when he was living in the palace, and now he have realized that, he have attained that. And he said, I consider this Dhamma something that I just attained, very profound, very hard to see, hard to understand, extremely peaceful, extremely sublime, unattainable by just thinking, reasoning. Okay, 1 + 1 = 2. You cannot do that. This kind of experience, you cannot just intellectually understand it. To be experienced by the wise only. These people mean us, you, me. Okay. On the other hand, is given to attachment, intent upon attachment, and delighting in attachment. So we run into another keyword here. Attachment in the text in Pali, the word used is called craving. Craving is from tanha. Tanha is a Pali word, and English translate to craving, thirst, attachment, clinging. It's called tanha. The Buddha realized that there is something called craving, tanha, in human mind, and that causes us to attach, causes us to have a wrong will. With wrong will, we have the wrong clinging on something that not belong to us, hoping that the more we cling on it, the more happiness we may attain. These people mean us again, therefore, who are given to attachment, intent upon attachment, delighting in attachment. Another two more important keyword, the law of causality and the law of dependent origination or paticca samuppada will be a matter difficult to understand. So what it means? Okay, I realized the Dhamma. Dhamma is so deep to understand, so profound to understand. Before I was an ignoble man, I wasn't understand as well. And now I understand that. And when I look back to my own life, to people around me, they fall into the same condition because they delight in defilement, they delight in craving, they delight in tanha. Okay, and with this delightment in craving, these people will not understand the deep Dhamma or the deep discovery that I just found when I start to share with others. It's almost impossible for an ignoble, for a mundane people like us to understand this experience that he had. And that is why the teaching of the Buddha is about having your own direct experience, what he's teaching. Then you understand, then you have more, willpower to develop and practice more of the Dhamma. Let's say people said observe precept is good. Okay, how observe precept benefit my life? If you don't observe precept yourself, you don't know the benefit of precept. Okay, don't kill, don't lie, understand that, it sounds good, but you will not realize it until you practice it. Keep precept for your whole life. People talk about meditation is good, stilling the mind is good, but you don't sit, you don't have direct experience of how good a meditation. So the Buddha wants you to have that. Same thing, Nibbana. We never experience something called Nibbana, extreme peace, extreme joy, extreme equanimity. We don't have that. The Buddha have realized that. And now he thinks that, for normal people, it's going to be hard for them to understand what I just realized. Okay, that's what it is. So the keyword here again, the tanha. Okay, there will be another session talk about tanha. Tanha is another. Tanha, remember, tanha is one of the Four Noble Truths. Okay, the first noble truth is about the truth of dukkha, the truth of life, and the second noble truth talk about the truth of what caused us dukkha, which is point specifically to tanha. And the Buddha explained 3 kinds of tanha, right? Kama tanha, crave to have; bhava tanha, crave for existence, crave to be; and vibhava tanha, crave for non-existence, which is another big topic. And here, paticca samuppada mentioned here. And there's another thing come after this. Let's take a look. And it is hard to see this truth. Okay, truth point back to the word Dhamma. They are synonymous. Namely, the stealing of formation, 1. The relinquishing of all acquisition, this is 2. The destruction of craving, 3. Dispassion, 4. Cessation, 5. And the last one, number 6, is Nibbana. You see, this is what he attained. This is what he realized. And he said, it's so profound. I don't know if anyone would understand if I am about to teach them. we run into many new keywords today. If you are new to the teaching of the Buddha, if you just ordained, to me, even for Buddhist people who call themselves Buddhist, they're not familiar with this term. Okay, paticca samuppabbada, ithappatajata. What is this? It's foreign word. Even we are Buddhists. My question to you is, we only heard that the Buddha talked about Four Noble Truths in his first teaching in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. But this is what he shared with the monk, what exactly that he discovered. There's no such thing called the Four Noble Truths mentioned here in this sutra. So I want you to keep in mind, why is that? If someone asks you, are you Buddhist? Yes. What is the core teaching of the Buddha? I would say 99% of Buddhists will say the Four Noble Truths, which is completely correct. Okay. As a Buddhist monk, you should know deeper than that. As the true Buddhist people, you should study deeper than that. So the key word here is paticca samuppabbada, the law of causality and the law of dependent origination. And this is the most difficult, complex teaching of the Buddha when you study the Buddhist text. It's another big topic. Here we just get to know the term, and I give you some idea what it is. Let's take a look. This is the cycle of dependent origination. The Buddha realized. What did he realize? To keep it simple, he realized dukkha, the nature of life, and he realized the path, right, that lead to the cessation of dukkha, two things. So this cycle is about dukkha formation and dukkha eradication. There are 12 links of the Dhamma that the Buddha realized. Okay, start from ignorance. We born with this. We born with ignorance. We born with craving. We born with defilement, and we don't know that we don't know. And this is the guy that caused us trapped in the realm of suffering. This is something extremely deep. And the story goes on. This is this dukkha formation or suffering formation. So in order for us to free ourselves from dukkha, we need to find a way to get rid of the root cause of suffering, which is all the defilement. Avijja, tanha, upadhan, clinging, craving, and ignorance. These three major defilement is kept in our mind the day we born. Getting interesting? A little bit explanation to get yourself excited about this formula. I call it formula. It's so simple formula, but it's so deep. You think of E equal mc squared. That's formula discovered by Einstein. So simple, right? But what is E? What is M? What is C? What is square? If you put things together in the right order and right proportion, this formula can make like nuclear bomb, can do anything. It's so super powerful formula. And usually the most powerful formula is simple. Same thing with this. The Buddha said, this existing and that exists. This arising and that's arise. This not existing, that does not exist. This ceasing, and that ceases. What is this? What is that? Only this and that. Okay. So A, if A exists, B exists. Okay. If A ceases, B ceases. The question is, what is A? What is B? So simple. The general law of causality. There are two laws: general law of causality and the specific law of causality we call dependent origination. The Buddha is extremely smart. General law means if A exists, B exists. If A ceases, B ceases. This is general. But paticca samuppabbada or dependent origination law is the special law or specific law that only focus on suffering. To keep it simple, if A exists, craving or tanha exists, then dukkha exists. If you want to free yourself from dukkha, you need to remove craving. And then dukkha is gone. Okay, keep it simple. So again, this is a big topic about dependent origination. We're going to have to study it separately from this particular sutra. And here we run into one of the most important keywords in Buddhism, which is Nibbana. And it's very confusing. Why? Because we're talking about something we never have direct experience with it. We try to understand something that it doesn't exist in this realm of existence. Okay. For example, you just come to Thailand, okay, and you may have not tasted some of durian. This is the king of fruit in Thailand, right? You ask people, how does it taste? You ask 10 people, they give you 10 idea how it tastes, but it's still not the taste of that durian until you actually eat it, taste it by yourself, and then no question asked, oh, I know now, this is durian, how it tastes. Same thing. The Buddha keep talking about Nibbana, Nibbana, and people don't understand. It's so sublime, it's so deep. And here in one sutra, okay, I connect it together. Perhaps it helps you to understand more about the concept of Nibbana. Is it unavoidable for us to learn about Nibbana, especially as a Buddhist monk? Why we are there? Because we want to realize Nibbana. And if you don't know what Nibbana is, how can we realize it? Again, this is the mentioned in some sutra in the Buddhist text. There is, Buddha talked to the monk, there is an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned. If monks there were not the unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned, you could not know and escape. From what? From born, from become, from made, from condition. Okay, but because there is an unborn, there is an unbecome, there is an unmade, there is an unconditioned. Therefore, you do know and escape from the born, become, made, and conditioned. Following me so far? See, it's very hard to explain something that doesn't exist in the world. That's why sometimes, even though the Buddha himself have a hard time to explain what it is, so he used something opposite. Okay, it's not sweet, it's not salty, it's not too oily, but what it is, I don't know. But it's not this one. Nibbana is similar, hard to explain. It's not this one. It's not all of this, but it is this one. There is no vocabulary. There is no way that we can explain experience fully by word and allow and let people understand. It's just impossible. You have to have experience by yourself. Here to put things in picture, everything in this circle is the characteristic of Nibbana that the Buddha mentioned in this particular sutra. Something opposite. Deathless, okay. Unborn, okay. Unaging, sorrowless, supreme peace, supreme happiness, unmade, unconditioned, unbecome, unbinding. Everything like negative term. But again, when you hear the word, let's say unborn, deathless, you may thinking of physical birth. That means I don't have to reborn again, or is that mean unborn of the craving, unborn of the desire? This is something I feel interesting after every time I study the Buddhist text. You have to think deeper. And the awakened state, what the Buddha have achieved in this particular sutra, at least there are 6 things. The first one, resolution of all fabrication. Fabrication mean what? Sometimes we get trapped with the English vocabulary. The word used in Pali is called sankhara. Sankhara means you have ability to think good and think bad, and that is called formation, wholesome or unwholesome. So it stopped. Okay, whether wholesome or unwholesome, there's no fabrication. Relinquishment of all acquisition. Okay, you stop. Basically the same thing. The end of craving. You don't want anything. Things stop. Stop craving. Stop looking. Okay, the development of dispassion, cessation, and unbinding. Okay, Nibbana. These are the terms that we found in this text, and it's our job to go back and understand each vocabulary that we learned today. What is meant by dispassion? What is meant by cessation or nirodha? And what is meant by unbinding? Okay, many new vocabulary today. Enough with the teaching of the Dhamma that even I found hard to reach, very hard to reach. For it will never be perceived by those who live in lust and hatred. Again, this is defilement. Lust and hate is defilement. Those die in lust, wrapped in darkness, will never discern this Dhamma, which goes against the very stream, subtle, deep, and difficult to see. It is difficult to see. And that is why the Buddha feel like it's going to be hard for me to teach, this Dhamma to an ordinary people, an ignoble people. So he said, if I were to teach the Dhamma, others would not understand. And that would be a wearing and troublesome for me. So if you found or understood something that's so profound, and you know that this is hard to see, hard to understand, you may have a hard time to kind of sharing with others. He was thinking, should he teach or should he not to teach? And later on, he realized that there will be, people who can understand. So he reflect on the simile of the three kind of lotus. Okay, the first kind of lotus is the lotus that under the water. This one. Okay, and every lotus grows in the mud, right? Just like all of us, we born be ignorant. The mud is like ignorant in our mind, and as we grow up, we develop more and more defilement. So first group of people is the people who, comparing to the lotus underneath the water. If you teach them now, they not understand anything. They're not ready. But another group of lotus is the lotus that rise above the water. So these people, if you say one sentence, they may not understand. If you teach them, okay, maybe 1 hour of lecture, they may understand what are you teaching. So they can realize, enlightenment, they can realize the Dhamma as well. So this is the second group of people. And the third group of people, comparing to the lotus that rise above in the air. So these people are so ready, their wisdom, their virtue, they're so ready. You say one sentence, they got it. There are many people in the past, in the Buddha time, that listen to one sentence and realize, enlightenment on the first sentence. There are many people like that. If you remember the story of Sariputta, right? Sariputta, before he ordained, he met with Venerable Asachi, which is one of the first 5 students who have achieved enlightenment from the first teaching of the Buddha. So Venerable Asachi went arms round in the village and he met with Sariputta. Okay, Sariputta Paripashika, he was a man looking for the truth as well. So he got intrigued with the manner of Venerable Asachi. He followed Venerable Asachi in the village until he finished the arm round, he finished eating, and Sariputta approached Venerable Asachi and asked for some knowledge, some wisdom. He said, oh, okay, what's your name? Where did you ordain? Who is your teacher? What did your teacher teach you? Could you share with me some wisdom? This story to me is very beautiful. I really like that. And get to the point where when Venerable Asachi, even though he is an arahant, he's already awakened. He's very humble. He don't say, oh, I know everything. No, he said, you know what? He said, I just ordained. In that rain retreat, he just got himself ordained. And I don't know much about the teaching of the Buddha. So Sariputta insists, please, anything, just say it. Don't worry about whether I will understand or not. Please just say it. So Venerable Asachi said, okay, I will share with you something. And that thing is called, to me, it is called Paticca Samuppabbada. Venerable Asachi get to the point of the essence of the teaching of the Buddha. If A exists, B exists. If A ceases, B ceases. Sariputta fully understood at the end of that sentence. He achieved the first level of enlightenment. He becomes Sodapatthana, or the stream enterer. Unbelievable. So the Buddha realized that, okay, there will be someone who have less dust in their eye. They will understand my teaching. But for people who have a lot of dust in their eye, one day they will understand, but not today. Then he start, teach the world. So his teaching career ran from day 1 until the day he died, 45 years, until his last breath. He still teach. Unbelievable. I saw beings with little much dust in their eye, okay, with keen and dull faculties, with good and bad qualities, easy and hard to teach, and some who dwell seeing fear and blame in this other world. So the Buddha see all kind of people. There will be some people who would be able to understand his teaching. In summary, what have you learned so far in this sutra? Ariyapariyesana Sutta is the middle length discourse number 26. The Buddha shared his own experience, why he left the palace and went on searching. What did he discover? And how did he feel when he realized that? That's the whole picture of this sutra. To me, it's very beautiful sutra. If you are new to Buddhism, you don't know where to start, this would be the one I would recommend you to start off with, and then go on to Dhammacakka. People usually start from Dhammacakka, which is considered the first teaching of the Buddha that gave to the first 5 students. Perfectly fine. But the thing is, Dhammacakka is only very short paragraph. There's no explanation in the sutra itself. Very short. So you have to go back and look for another sutra to explain what's happening before the first teaching. Then you can connect the whole picture together. And that is why I said something is missing. The Four Noble Truths mentioned in Dhammachakra, but it did not mention in this particular sutra, where he proclaimed that this is what I have attained, this is what I have achieved or realized or fully understood. What? The dependent origination, right? The Paticca Samuppabbada. Let's help each other to summarize this sutra together. It's going to help you when you go back and do self-study. You not just listen, you not just read. You need to kind of think, what have I learned? You may reflect on different things, different than me. It depends on, how much you understand and how experienced you are, when you study the Buddhist text yourself. So here, the Buddha discovered something called Nibbana. That's the supreme peace. He went on searching. He was a man, okay, an ignoble man. He went on searching. It's called a noble search. He looked for teacher. He learned from teacher. He did not satisfy, so he went on for his own, self-development, self-transformation. He realized something called Nibbana. And when he looked back, reflect on his own life and other life, he realized that we born with something called ignorance, with tanha, craving. Ignorance is avijja, craving is tanha. Translate to English, ignorance and craving. We born with this. Every single being, we born with it, and we didn't know that we have it. The nature gives this thing to us in our mind the day we born, and we don't know that. And this is the starting point of suffering, because we don't know that we don't know. And the Buddha, in his 45 years, he keeps telling people that this is something that you don't know, and this is something that you should know. It's something that you must know. Otherwise, you'll be falling into the realm of existence forever. So number one, he found something called Nibbana, right? And that Nibbana is the supreme peace, where we can, how do we get there? You need to remove ignorance. You need to remove craving. Then you can get there. Otherwise, you will be up and down in the realm of existence. Sometimes go to the bad place, sometimes go to the good place. It depends on, the karma that you created. In this sutra, the Buddha did not mention anything about the law of karma yet. He just shared with this particular group of monks, because the monk wants to know, okay, why he ordained, what he discovered. The Buddha explained that. Nibbana mentioned, and how to realize Nibbana. We have to remove ignorance. You have to remove craving. Then we can be happy. And the Buddha didn't even mention in detail about how to do that in this sutra. And as we learn together for a few sutras by now, we know that all teaching of the Buddha in the Buddhist sect coming down into three headings. The first one, he teaches us to be a virtuous or ethical person by observing precept. If you want to be happy, you must be an ethical person. Don't kill, don't lie, no sexual misconduct, things like that. And then it's not enough. You have to develop your mind through meditation practice. We talk about samatha, we talk about vipassana. Is it enough? Buddha said no. We need to develop another element, which is panya or wisdom. Then we can realize Nibbana. Then we can understand the way to remove the ignorance and the craving. So whether you are a Buddhist monk or a lay people, we share the same journey of samsara. We born, we die. If you Buddhist, you realize that, okay, the Buddha talked about Nibbana. I know Nibbana is good, but I'm not in a hurry to get there. I'm okay with this life, with wife, with kid, with business, traveling the world. I'm okay with that. Which is nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine. But he teaches that, hey, that is called ignoble search. The more you search for that, okay, you may call it happiness, but that happiness will not last forever. And when things fall apart, you will be back to the normal state of life, which is dukkha. And once it happens, how do you deal with that? That is why a lot of people committed suicide. Successful, okay, highly education, committed suicide. For what? This is, nature of life. We have to prepare for that. That is why wisdom is something we need to develop. Okay, we observe precept. We feel like we are a good person. Okay, I meditate as well. That's even better. But sometimes I am an ethical person. I meditate every day. How come I still feel suffering? Especially the time of COVID like this. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot do the work. Have a hard time expanding business. There's a lot of worry in the mind. So precept and meditation sometimes is not enough to calm the mind down, to give us, the sense of peace and joy on the daily basis. You need to develop the Dhamma or the Panya by study the teaching of the Buddha, understand like the true nature of life, understand that life is dukkha, everything will fall apart. There are many good teachings in the Buddhist text. It's too bad that not many people actually pay attention and study about it. And that is why Luang Pi encourage everyone, okay, to find time to study Buddhist text on your own. Okay, if you have time, you can join this Zoom meeting with us. Okay, if you have question, then we can ask, we can help each other to find the answer together. Okay, so with that, I'm finished my session today. So we have covered the third episode, which is talk about the sutra called Ariyapariyesana Sutta. And another name of this sutra, when you study by yourself, you may not be able to find it. So you can look for another name, which is called Pasarasi Sutta. Okay, if you search Ariyapariyesana Sutta, you may not find it in some books, but you may find it if you search with this name, Pasarasi Sutta. Anyway, it comes from Majjhima Nikaya number 26, which is talk about the noble search, the enlightenment of the Buddha. So if someone wants to know what exactly that the Buddha discovered, this is the sutra that you should study. And then after this sutra, the Buddha goes on and teach what he realized to the first 5 students. We will talk about that next time. Okay, so with that, I'm done. So hope everyone learned something today. And most importantly, please put everything you learn into practice, even one thing that you learned today. So maintain your peace of mind and enjoy life every day that you have a chance to wake up. Okay, let's pay respect to the triple gems and then we take a break. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivantemi Savankanto Bhagavatan Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami. Okay, so may the power of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha protect everyone to be safe from the COVID-19, to have a good life and to live a very long, long life. And when you meditate, may your mind still at ease and be able to find the inner peace inside yourself at ease and as quickly as possible. So please have a nice day and rejoice in your merit.